Hey everybody, welcome to another CoMo comic books live stream. Uh, it's our third anniversary today. 3 years ago, I uploaded my first video to YouTube. It was awful, but we're here to celebrate it nonetheless. So don't have much of an agenda really today. Got a few things to talk about, but for the most part, it's just kind of wanted to hop on and say thank you to everybody who's kind of hung with the channel over the last couple of years as we've been putting out content and all that. There's some news of the day. Of course, you know, they announced the DCU slate earlier today, so kind of look at some of that real briefly. Nothing too crazy, but more than anything, just wanted to hop on, share the big day with you guys, and yeah, we'll go from there. So, like I mentioned, 3 years ago, uploaded my first video. It was not a good video. If you've heard me talk about it before, I didn't know what I was doing. Color grading, video editing, any of that stuff. The video started out orange because I didn't know what white balance was. I didn't know how to set up a camera, and it kept getting worse as the video went along. So that was pretty wild, but you know, it is what it is. We've come a ways since then. So it's exciting to look back to see where we are now versus where we were then. But it's been an interesting ride. It took us a little while to kind of figure out, you know, what our thing was. And when I did the first top 10 list, it kind of did okay. That was pretty exciting. And then I had one that kind of popped off. I don't even remember which one it was, but you know, when you're used to putting out videos, you get maybe, you know, a few hundred video or a few hundred clicks here, a few hundred clicks there, nothing too crazy. And all of a sudden you have one that goes 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 views. It's like, that's pretty crazy. So that was pretty exciting. And, you know, obviously if you've been with the channel for long, you know that the top 10 list is kind of what we pride ourselves on around here. In fact, the next video I have coming out is going to be the quarterly winter top 10 comics to invest in video. Here's some inside baseball. It's going to change a little bit. Just with the way the market is right now, saying these are comics that are good to invest in seems kind of like the wrong message to send. So I'm actually going to have a theme for this new top 10 comics to invest in video, kind of for the first time ever for this particular video in the series. And we're going to focus on undervalued comics from the Silver Age. So I've already got that list built out. I'm working on the script now, and that should come out Saturday morning. So I hope you'll be looking forward to that. So once we get the script written, I'll get that edited, get it posted up, and hopefully you guys enjoy that change. Gonna pop over to the chat right quick. It's like Swaggle is in the chat. Thanks for stopping by, sir. Glad to see you here. Also got Legion of Paper saying congratulations on the anniversary. I appreciate that. It sure doesn't seem like 3 years. It's kind of course, you know, you have the whole pandemic thing, and that just kind of made time disappear, it feels like. Brandon, also in the chat, said he enjoyed the pickup video. Thank you. It was, like I said in the video, it was a crazy year. Like, that's not the stuff I set out to pick up, but that's the stuff that landed in my lap. So I'll take it where I can get it, I guess. Tom, good to see you in the chat. Appreciate the congratulations. That's what I'm talking about. All right. Mildo Miller says he loves the Mizzou shirt. His niece is a pitcher on the softball team. That's awesome. No, I'm definitely a Chiefs fan too. I'm red enough. I don't really wear red. It just doesn't work. But no, I've been a Chiefs fan for forever. But yeah, me and Mrs. CoMo both went to Mizzou, so we moved here for college and never left. So that's kind of the story behind the Mizzou shirt. Troy, nice to see you. Undervalued, yeah, undervalued content, underappreciated. Right now, it's kind of hard to say what's undervalued, what's not. Just we're still searching for that basement level price, kind of, you know, where are we going to find the bottom, and see if we can't get some of these values heading back the right direction. It's going to be an interesting year. Hopefully we find that point sooner rather than later. I don't know that we will, but we'll see what happens. Got Back in the Game Comics. Congrats on 3 years. I appreciate that. Got Small Town. Says he likes my hat. This was actually a gift from Mrs. CoMo. It's from the Disney store, and it's the hat, but then it's got like enamel pins on it. It was a little pricey, but Spider-Man the animated series was my jam back in the day. So when I saw this, I'm like, I have no idea what I want for my birthday. How about this hat? Legion of Paper says he enjoyed the Insight on the Comics and Chaos show. That was a week ago this past Sunday. If you aren't familiar with that channel, it's a new channel. The people behind that are One True Nerd King and Rage Theo. You might recognize them if you're involved in the comic community on Instagram. They're both really big over there. Rage is also a big Whatnot seller. He's part of the Whatnot Wednesday crowd. Really great dude. Got to meet him in person at C2E2, but he's been very helpful for me, specifically when I was first starting to look at getting into selling on Whatnot. I didn't know you could call people on Instagram, so I was just hanging out one day. I'd shot him a message, and the next thing I know, my phone's ringing, and the dude like dropped what he had going on, just called me and walked me through what to expect with that. Super great, very appreciative of that. And that's just something that's, I don't know, kind of lost these days. Everybody wants to talk via text or, meme or 5-second video or whatever, but to actually have somebody pick up the phone, that was pretty cool. We've got Mildo back saying he can't wait to see us at Planet Comic-Con. I'm excited about that. We're going to talk about some of the shows we're going to be at later this year as we get into the show a bit. We got O'Shea saying he's late to the party. That's all right. You're here now. Frankie No-Nos, congrats. I appreciate that. Also in the chat, O'Shea again saying congrats. So I think we're caught up with the chat there. We'll do some Q&A later on. If somebody has some questions, feel free to throw those out there. But for now, thank you everybody for hopping in. Appreciate the congratulations. And really, I have all of you to thank for being here at this point. When I started the channel, I didn't know how long it would go, if it would just be kind of like a one and done or a two and done. And here we are 36 months later, still going strong. And again, I think the support, the kind words, the encouragement from everybody in the community over the last couple of years to help keep it going. It's I think the one thing you realize once you start a YouTube channel is it's not as easy as it looks. So it can be a bit of work, and just, the positive feedback and vibes and comments and community are really what help carry a lot of us through it and keep us going. So thank you all for that as always. And if I probably let it go too long sometimes without saying thank you. So very much thank you from the bottom of my heart. Next thing, I want to remind everybody, we're closing in on 10,000 subscribers, and we do have the 10,000 subscriber giveaway that's percolating at the moment. So we've got 5 prizes for that. We've got a Hex X Jim Lee collector's backpack. This is the backpack that has custom Jim Lee art on the inside. It's custom designed for comic collectors, essentially. It's got a front pocket that'll fit an Overstreet in the front of it if that's your thing. It gets really heavy if you do that, just a heads up, but it has slab-sized pockets in it. It's just a really cool backpack. So that's one of the prizes. That's kind of what I see as the main prize. Have a CoMo hat that's also up, and then 3 Marvel comics. We have, I think it's a Daredevil 179 that I'm paying forward, that I won as a giveaway at a Whatnot stream from Golden Age Guru, and then a Spider-Woman 1 and a Iron Man 100 is the last book. So 5 prizes, gonna have 5 different winners once we hit 10,000 subscribers, which at last check we were at, let's get the most up-to-date number here. We're at 9,628 subscribers at the moment. So we're winding down. We got, 300 300 and change. And then I'll get that 10K video up. And how it's going to work once we do cross the 10,000 subscriber mark, at that point, I'm going to upload a video, and you have to be a subscriber. You have to leave a comment on that video. And, if you'd like that video, that'd be cool. If you want to share that video, that would be awesome as well. And then I'll go through and I'll use like a random comment selector generator. I don't know. There's stuff out there. But I will, in an indiscriminate manner, select 5 winners based off the comments left on the video. And then I'll reach out and probably have you get a hold of me through Instagram, get your information, get the stuff in the mail. And that'll be that. So 10K giveaway still going on. If, you're chomping at the bit and you want to have your shot at a prize sooner, tell your friends, come subscribe over to the CoMo Comic Books YouTube channel. Now, did anything happen today? Was there news that came out in the comic book world? I don't think there was there? Well, I guess maybe there was a little bit. So we had some movie news, right? We learned what the DC comic slate was going to be, the DCU comic slate. I don't know how to be positive about this. And full disclosure, I've been called a Marvel zombie for decades at this point. I make no bones about it. Marvel is my first love, especially when compared to DC. So, sorry for any DC fans out there. I really don't know what to say. Of course, they announced it's going to be kind of divided up, how Marvel has phases and sagas. DC is going to approach it from chapters, like the perspective of chapters, where they're going to group things under that name. So chapter 1 is going to be called Gods and Monsters, which, if you know much about DC, which if you're here on the channel, I'm assuming you do know a fair amount, or at least have a basic level, that's pretty much all they got. They don't have normal people. That's always been my problem with DC, is it's hard to relate to the characters, because I was talking with some folks earlier today. It's hard to step into the shoes of gods, right? Like, everybody is so overpowered in the DC universe. It's just kind of hard to relate. But nonetheless, James Gunn, now over at DC, he and his co-CEO, what's that guy's name? I can't even remember. Saffron, however you pronounce it. They announced all this, and essentially what we're going to get is we're going to get 10 projects, 5 movies and 5 shows. And then there's like a bonus 11th movie, which is the Batman sequel. So the Batman 2, but they're using that old DC like alternate universe storyline Elseworlds tag for that. So essentially it exists outside of the rest of these movies. But what we get, first off, it's going to be a Superman movie called Superman Legacy. I'm curious to see how that's going to play. They emphasize the vintage Superman tag along, truth, justice, and the American way. And I honestly, I don't know how that's going to play in modern society. I hope it plays well, but it just seems almost antiquated at this point to me. And we've just had so many starts and stops and missteps with Superman for so long. I'm hesitant at this point. I mean, it's not quite as toxic of a brand as like Fantastic Four is, after how Fox, took a dump on that property. But they've got a lot of goodwill to earn back with the comic community, moviegoers, just in general. So I'm curious how that one will play out. Then we've got a Supergirl movie. They go on to say it's going to be an edgier film. I mean, is this going to be like the return of Zack Snyder style DC movies? I don't know what's going to be up with that. But yeah, anytime you use hardcore as a descriptor for a Superman movie, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But we'll see what happens. They do note that they don't know if Crypto will be in there. That'd be kind of cool if Crypto showed up. I like dogs better than, a lot of people, so I could get behind that, I suppose. Next, we have a Batman movie. They're titling it Brave and the Bold, which is going to be a Batman and Damian Wayne Robin movie. So it's almost going to be like a daddy issues Batman movie. I don't know. Just kind of interesting to see where that'll go. And again, hopefully I don't want to be too much of a downer on this, but I'm just, as I look at this, I don't see a lot that excites me that really I'm looking forward to at this point. Paradise Lost is the next thing. So we're going to do the Moon Knight treatment here. We're going to have a Wonder Woman movie without Wonder Woman because this is going to take place before Wonder Woman exists. So it's supposed to be about the mascara before the birth of Diana, they say, kind of putting it in the vein of Game of Thrones. I don't know about that. We'll see. Booster Gold going to HBO. That could be entertaining at least. Creature Commandos is an animated movie. That's at least an interesting property. Waller, an Amanda Waller series. I don't know. Like you have a Nick Fury series or a show that's focused on Nick Fury. Nick Fury's got some stuff like, he was a super spy and all this. I don't know how Amanda Waller is going to play that. If that character's strong enough to carry her own show. You've got Lanterns, a Green Lantern show that's coming up, a Swamp Thing movie. That's probably the one thing I'm the most interested in this slate is Swamp Thing. I mean, I grew up in the late 80s, early 90s. I remember the Swamp Thing movies, the TV shows, the toy line. So I have a soft spot for Swamp Thing in general. So this I could get into, depending on how it's done. There's been some really great storylines, but I did read that this is going to be more like a horror movie, really edgy, kind of leaning in on the monster stuff, but that they may use other more established DC heroes to prop up the movie. So the first place my mind goes to with that is like, okay, we're going to get the kid gloves treatment with Swamp Thing the way the MCU has treated Spider-Man. So we're going to have Tony Stark there to hold his hand or Doctor Strange to hold his hand. So in this example, we'll have Batman there to help Swamp Thing or Superman or somebody like that, which I do admit you go back into the Rights and Run. There is a pretty nice Batman Swamp Thing crossover. So maybe, there's some precedent there. We'll see what happens with it. But The Authority is the next movie. I'll admit, I don't know a lot about The Authority. I believe that came out of Wildstorm, which is just something I didn't really cross paths with all that much. And then, like I said, we've got the Batman 2. So that's our new DC slate. 2025 is kind of when they're talking about this really starting to ramp up and to get going. So we'll see what happens here in a couple of years once they get this up and running. My just top line thought about all of this is James Gunn has had some interesting successes in developing characters that nobody knows, that nobody really cares about, and really just knocking them out of the park and being able to capture the interest of the general public with these kind of B and C and D, maybe even E or F team characters. You can't do that forever. Eventually the well runs dry, you miss. And I don't know that you can build an entire cinematic universe when your foundation is built out of these mid to bottom tier characters. That's my main concern. It's like sooner or later he's going to miss. And once there's one crack in the foundation, then doubt sneaks in. And then every single thing that comes on after that is like, well, what if it's the next this? What if it's the next that? You kind of see that with the Eternals in the MCU and several of the MCU Disney Plus shows. It's like, well, I keep thinking back to the line from Whiplash, Mickey Rourke's character in Iron Man 2. And it's like, if you can make God bleed, people will cease to believe in him. And I feel like that's kind of what the Marvel universe ran into with Eternals, some of the DC or the Disney Plus shows. I feel like that may be the car that James Gunn is chasing. The dog chasing the car. Like, what's he going to do if it catches him, right? So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Let's dive back into the chat. I'm seeing lots of Marvel love in there with me. Let's see here. Some 10K appreciation. I had somebody leave a comment the other day. It said, like first stop 10K, next stop 100K. It's like, holy crap. I don't know. I'm ready for that. Union Jack says he's a Marvel boy. Tom says make his Marvel. See what we got here. Frankie says he hates to poo-poo on it right away, but that he was also baffled at the choice in films and movies. And that's kind of the way I am. Honestly, I wish this wouldn't have came out today, so I wouldn't have had to talk about it. But whereas it just came out today, I'm like, I can't go live and not at least mention that, because I'm sure it would have come up in the chat for sure. Cheers to continued success from Jaquez. Thank you. I appreciate that. Super Mars says Marvel gives them a headache. Yeah, that can happen. But I've got decades and decades of good Marvel experience, despite the fact, some of the more recent stuff that has been a pain. I agree. They definitely give me a headache too. Frankie says that, they can't get Superman right. You've got to. The problem is there's just, how do you make a character who's impervious, the strongest creature around? How do you challenge that character, right? I mean, you can't use kryptonite as a crutch every single time. Like, how many times have we seen that? And that's the problem. It's just, to challenge a god, you almost need another god. And honestly, one of the things I kind of thought of in relation to the Supergirl, it's like, is she just going to be like a prettier version of Zod at this point? She's just going to roll in with a bad attitude and be the antithesis to Superman. I don't know. When they say hardcore Supergirl, that makes me nervous. And yeah, I mean, DC being edgy again. I mean, hopefully with Zack Snyder not involved, hopefully at least we can keep some lighting on the set so we can actually see what's going on. We're not just staring at a black and a gray screen. That was my big problem. It's like you couldn't even tell what was going on half the time. Kind of scrolling through, looking for some comments here. Tom Nordley says to read Wrightson, Swamp Thing, the Batman. Batman Strangest Cases. Okay. The more run of Swamp Thing, the saga of Swamp Thing, that's a really good read. I recommend that if you want to read some Swamp Thing. It's been collected several times over the last couple of years, hardcover, softcover. It's definitely worth your time if you want to read some good Swamp Thing. Kubert variant of Batman 655. Honestly, I haven't been able to dive in and look and see if there's any books that are popping off today, like what's moving since the announcement. I know I just found a 655, like that whole run in a collection I bought. So I don't hate having that stuff. So I'm going to kind of watch and see what happens there. But the thing is, it's just to think you're going to be the one person that sets the high price, to just wait to the exact right moment to put your book up and get that sale at the peak. It's unlikely. So you just kind of got to wait until you have that threshold, where you're at. It's like, if it sells here, I'm going to be okay. And if the price is not there yet, don't worry about it. Now, if it passes that threshold and you wind up making more, that's great. But trying to wait until the exact last moment to be the person that makes that peak sale, that's a really hard needle to thread. So I would advise keeping an eye out, and if it looks like it's starting to trend upwards, to go ahead and get it up there and cash in. Got Jason Salazar stopping by saying, "What's up? How are you, man? Glad to see you. Happy you could stop by." Got Icebox Comics and Games. Hey, how are you doing? Thank you for coming by to the stream. And then Jason says he's very glad he held on to a Swamp Thing run. He says now if he wants to sell them, it's a different issue. Yeah, I hear that. I recently picked up a consignment collection. I just sold a House of Secrets 92 about 2 weeks ago. I have a feeling if that wouldn't have happened, maybe I could have got a little more out of it this week or next week. But the way, and you've probably heard me and some other guys on YouTube talk about it, but the way the market is right now, so many books have everything, like the speculation already baked into the price, right? So you've got that layer of complication. Plus, you've got a drop in demand due to just economic pressures and stuff. People that are leaving the hobby, basically because, it's not 2020 anymore. You can't just go pick up any halfway reasonable key and expect that it's going to pop 20%, 25% in the next 3 to 6 months. It's not a speculator's market at the moment. It's a buyer's market, which is helping to kind of depress some of those prices. So I think the stuff that will see good pops off of these announcements is going to be stuff like the Authority stuff that's just more off the wall, kind of unexpected. And I know there's been some speculation, like there's always somebody out there that knows a little bit. So that book, some of the storm watches and stuff haven't been completely forgotten about. But that's the kind of stuff that'll, like, I guarantee you, if I had any Stormwatch book in my hand, I'd probably just throw it in the dollar bin and not even think twice about it. Because I'd rather have $1 and have it gone than sit there and try and find, sift through hundreds of buyers that are might potentially want that book to find the one guy that actually does want that book. So it's going to be interesting. So we'll see what pops off based off of these announcements. Frankie wants to know if I've read Batman and Joker Deadly Duo. I have not. One thing I always knew, but I never really appreciated until I started buying a lot of modern comic collections. You can look in Overstreet and just see how many Batman limited series, specials, premium format stuff, however you want to put it. There are so many freaking Batman stories out there. I don't know that it would be possible to read all of them. It seems like every time I buy a big collection, I find some other Batman miniseries or one shot or something I didn't even know existed. It's just crazy how many of them are out there. So I haven't read that one. I've read most of the heavy hitters. I do like Batman. Outside of Spider-Man, Batman's probably my second favorite major character. And I like collecting the members of the Rogues Gallery's first appearances. Used to be a little easier before the last 3 to 5 years. But, it is what it is. I think Batman Batman 1, that is officially left the building. I don't know that I'll ever get my hands on one of those. Okay. Indy Key says he only collects Marvel and indie books. Nothing wrong with that. Also says congrats on 3 years. I appreciate that. Next, he says he has to admit I do love a lot of DC television shows, And then a lot of the DC animated stuff is great. And that's one thing I think we can agree on for sure. The DC has been killing Marvel in the animated space for years at this point. I rarely ever hear bad things about some of the bigger DC animated stuff, which I don't know why Marvel hasn't made more of an effort to get into that space. Obviously, you know, we have What If that's out there now. Moon Girl, Devil Dinosaur, I think is coming up. So we'll see what happens there. Craig says, happy 3rd anniversary. I appreciate that. Suppa says 2020 was a seller's paradise. Indeed it was. It was crazy. Absolutely crazy. Tartan Phantom. Hey, how you doing? Thanks for coming by. He says he owes no allegiance to any particular company, DC, Marvel, Charlton, other indies, defunct companies. Yeah, good story and decent artwork. That's great. You know, one of the more highly regarded comic stories there is V for Vendetta, right? Great story, adapted to a movie, all this. I can't read the book. I hate the art. It's awful. I literally cannot stand to read that book, which has always made me sad because, you know, it's so highly regarded, but, you know, it is what it is. Union Jack, thanks for stopping by, says he recently discovered the What If books. What If is a great series to collect. I mean, I think there's like 3 or 4 volumes of it at this point, but outside of a handful of issues, really, it's really affordable. And you can get a lot of that vintage vibe because, you know, the first series came out in the early 70s. So there's some good stuff, and there's some, you know, notable first appearances, decent story points that come out of What If. And, you know, some of the other books that I kind of lumped together with it, like Marvel 2-in-1, Marvel Team Up. It's those are all kind of Marvel sandbox books that really are collectible. They're fun to go after because it takes a little bit of challenge, but they won't break the bank. So it's kind of a fun little thing. Geezer Skate, thanks for stopping by. Says thank you for all the great videos. I appreciate that. Thank you to you for watching them. It's always fun to hear people let me know that they enjoy the content. So I appreciate that. So my next point, we're kind of caught up on the chat there. Next thing, I've got some comic convention appearances that are coming up this year. Let's see. I'll pull up a website or two. First up, going to be at Planet Comic-Con in Kansas City. This show takes place in March. It's the 17th through the 19th of this year. It's kind of interesting. We've got a lot of guests that have been at the show in recent years. But with that said, it's some hitters. I'm not going to lie to you. Like Jim Steranko is going to be there. And if you've ever had a chance to meet Jim Steranko, you get a signature and a show for whatever he charges for the signature, because he is the smallest person in the room, but the biggest personality. I don't care how big the room is or how many people are in there. The guy just, he is a showman. And, you know, if you have nothing better to do, you need to just kind of chillax for a minute, find a quiet corner within earshot of Steranko and just listen to all the stories that guy will drop. It's pretty great. Also, let's see, let's just go to the guests here. Okay. Creator guests. Somebody mentioned Roy Thomas is going to be there. Chris Claremont, Kevin Eastman, who, you know, you guys know me, I'm a Turtles fan. Always happy to see Eastman come back around. It's my buddy Jeff Edwards. He's going to be on there. They've added a lot of guys. Patrick Gleason's coming back. Met him last year. Sold him some TMNT stuff. He is a good dude. David Max coming back. Bill Morrison. Bill Morrison was the last editor-in-chief of Mad Magazine. I actually sold him a Mad 21 last year, I think it was. That was kind of cool. An enjoyable story for me. Jimmy Palmiotti, Amanda Connor coming back. Don Rosa, Baltimore Rivera's, Andy Parks. A lot of KC area creators that we see at the show quite a bit. Of course, here's Steranko, Kyle Strom. If you're reading Twig, Kyle's the artist, Scotty Young's the writer, both KC local guys. So they'll be there. Here's Roy Thomas and Freddie Williams. So yeah, some good creators there. Plenty of celebrities and stuff like that as well. So that's the first show I'll be at. Like I said, that's March. It's over St. Patrick's Day weekend. So that'll be interesting to be downtown KC as we're celebrating St. Pat's. See how that goes. The next show I'm going to be at is going to be, I don't need any updates. Thanks. The next show is going to be the Indiana Comic Convention. This is going to be a first for me. I'm looking forward to it. 93 days away. That's what's crazy. It's only like 40 some odd till Planet. I've got a whole lot of inventory to get around. And that's the thing. So I think I mentioned in another video. Apologies if I miss a week between now and then, but trying to get ready for the show and regular job and stuff. Sometimes something has to give. So I apologize if I miss an upload or something, but lots and lots of comics to get around. Usually when I roll into this show, I'll bring between 45 and 60 long boxes with me. And this year we're going to go pretty heavy. So it'll probably be closer to 60 for sure. So that'll be exciting. Let's pop back over to the chat here. Got Tom talking about Stronko, saying he might have to be there. It's worth it. And the good thing about KC, it's pretty reasonable flights, really, for most places. They just redid the airport, so it's not too shabby. Craig is talking about some of the local talent. Yeah, KC really, I mean, you wouldn't think about it. There's a lot of local and area talent for sure. And we're lucky that, the majority of them support the show every year and come out. So it's always nice. We got Claremont and Eastman. There's a couple of exciting ones. Hey, how's it going? Thanks for coming by. See, Tartan Phantom says Stronko's great, but yeah. Yeah, he has definitely got a personality. There's no way around that. We actually, I don't know if he stayed at our hotel a couple years ago, but I've seen him at shows. I've seen him before shows, after shows. Saw him eating dinner. Me and my wife were having dinner at the hotel restaurant, and he was like a table next to us, and there's no off switch. Like, that's just Stronko. He's just that massive of a personality. Tom pointed out Don Rosa. If you're a Ducks fan, if you know, like Carl Barks, Don Rosa is basically the heir apparent to Carl Barks. Great Disney artist, huge comic collector as well. And I believe there's actually, I don't know if it's an actual pedigree they call it, but he has had a noteworthy collection that sold a while back, and it was impressive. All right. I would love to be able to help you out with that, but the way most of that show goes is I'm running the whole time. Like, I have a hard time even getting out from behind the table to shoot any content or anything. Like, you guys see a friend of the channel, Swaggle Hustle, hit shows out in LA and stuff, and post some con videos. I can't even get out to shoot walls most of the time. Or if I do, I also have a bad habit of, if I do get out, I'll shoot some footage. But then by the time I get back to where I could edit it, I'm just dead tired and it just lives on my hard drive and never sees the light of day. So maybe let me know in the comments if you'd just like to see a super cut of some of the convention footage I've shot over. Hell, I could probably upload 45 minutes or an hour of that kind of stuff from 2020 alone, or 2022 alone, I would imagine. Right. Replays says they love the channel, but let's go Eagles. I appreciate that you enjoy the channel, but I can't root for the Eagles this year right now. Like, next year after they're coming off a tough Super Bowl loss, absolutely, let's go Eagles. But for now, we got to keep it Chiefs here on the CoMo channel. Mildo, I thought that same thing. He does live down on that South Loop somewhere. I don't know if it's OP or where exactly, but he does live down on the south side of the metro somewhere. And you never know, they may still have some tricks up their sleeve. They may announce some more creators as we get closer. Serge, welcome. He has a question about a reprint on a Pacific book. All right. Hey, Vince, thanks for stopping by, man. Good to see you. I need to talk to you sometime. I still never told you the story of that collection, and I need to fix that. All right, Serge. Almost wanted to use another Spider-Man 361 preprint. They have multiple designs on it. I'm not familiar with such a book. You'll have to DM me something about it and let me know, because I'm only aware of like the silver second print for 361. But the way the world is now, God knows how many people have made other ones. Jimmy Palmiotti, yep, he's there fairly regular. Him and Amanda Connor usually do a big crowd, have a big crowd. A lot of love for, I believe, was it their Harley run, right? That was pretty popular. Peter, appreciate the congrats on the 3 years, and I'm glad you enjoy the videos. Thanks for stopping by. Comic Toby says you don't want them to steal your stuff. That is correct. I do not want anyone to steal my stuff, which is part of it. It's hard because I always do a corner, and when you've got 20 feet of frontage and you've got people shoulder to shoulder from one end to the other, even with, it's usually 3 to 4 people I've got with me. 3 to 4 people on the crew total. And, there are times when it's rocking and rolling, you're Friday after everybody gets work, if you have a good Friday, or center of the morning, like between 11 and 1 on Saturday, when, the place is just bouncing. It can be hard, even with all hands on deck, to take care of everybody. It gets pretty wild, but it's fun. I mean, we work our asses off for 4 days, because the show actually starts on Thursday for us for setup. Then you do the show Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So you just work yourself to the bone, but you're living on adrenaline and caffeine and just having a great time. So you never work so hard, but you have so much fun. It's definitely worth it. Swag, where are you going this weekend? CalCon. I talked to a buddy of mine. If you're on Instagram, MSG Comics, a buddy of mine from over across the line in Kansas, he did a show this last weekend, just a local one, and I think he was crying in his beer when he had to reprice his books to get ready for the show, just from last fall to now. 25-30% drops on a lot of these books. It's a great time if you have the means to get out there and pick some stuff up, because you're buying at prices that we haven't seen in years at this point. See here, have foam stars. I have honestly never heard of that book. It's not an acetate cover, is it? Because that didn't go well the last time. So hopefully not that. But yeah, I'd be interested to see a picture of that. Grand made it in here. Daily Grand, thank you for coming by. Congrats for the 3 years. I appreciate it. Happy to see you here. So yeah, let's talk about this other show I'm going to be at. I kind of got on it, but then got distracted. So Indiana Comic-Con, first time for me doing this show. I've got some friends from the St. Louis area that have done it. They've always talked highly about it. And I decided this year is going to be the year. I kind of got worried. I initially missed out on like the early bird booths just because I'm like, hell, the show's not till May. I got time. Sold out stupid fast. So I got waitlisted, which was a bummer. But it did work out. I got a booth. So I'll be there from May 5th to May 7th. They're actually going to drop their first guest announcements tomorrow. So kind of interested to see who they're going to have. Word of mouth on this show for a Midwest show, kind of a newer, smaller Midwest show, has been really positive. So I'm hoping for good things, and it'll actually be my first time out that way. So if it's in Indianapolis, it's at the Indianapolis Convention Center, which is right next to the football stadium, right down the street from the state capitol. I've been to Indy a couple times, but I don't really know it that well, but it seems like everything's kind of in that one area. So if you're within driving distance, road trip, throw some friends in the car, road trip down, come say hi. It seems like they've got a pretty great show, so I'm excited to be a part of it. I've got my eye on a couple other shows this year. I'm wanting to pivot away from doing like 10 to 12 mostly smaller shows in a year to where maybe I do 4 or 5 or 6 bigger shows, and bigger for the area. Like it's not logistically possible for me to load up and set up at San Diego and New York and all that. It's like, I'd spend way more than I'm comfortable with just to get there. Never mind, what it would cost to set up and stay for a hotel and stuff like that. But around the area, there's a Des Moines show I'm looking at, maybe even Memphis, which if you're in the Memphis area, that Memphis Comic-Con, they've only released like a handful of guest announcements, but they're all hitters. It's looking like it's going to be a really good show this year. So keep an eye out on that. I'm keeping an eye. Go. I may make it to Memphis this year. We'll just have to see. Let's check back in with the chat. I don't know. Deals are pretty tough. It's a buyer's market, but I'm fortunate that I'm kind of in the position where I don't do the vending for a living. So I'm happy to let some things sit versus having to give them away. And I'll be honest, I've got a lot of slabs and stuff like I'm not even going to put out because they're just, the prices right now are so dumb. And I know that in X amount of time, whether that's big X or little X, that these things are going to rebound. But like the price on an X-Men 12 right now just makes my stomach turn. That's just a great example of a book that's way below where it probably should be. Thor 165. Like, I can't believe how soft that book's gotten. I've got an 8.0 special Marvel Special Edition 15, which Shang-Chi is just imploded. It's like it's crazy. So I got some stuff that's still not bad, but I've got some things that like there's way too much upside to let some of those books go at today's prices. So we'll just sell some other stuff instead. We'll break out the X-Men 244s and 221s and all that I've got piles of, and we'll go from there. But thing I'm looking forward to, like, it's like a Planet with Eastman being there. I just bought that big collection. It had all those turtle slabs in it, so I'm flipping out like my personal collection, raw copies. So I'm just looking forward to being able to look over at my wall and see like TMNT 1 through 5, kind of, just bam right up there for the first time. That's going to be kind of cool. But it's always fun. Just get out and meet everybody and see how we do. Let's see. Back to the chat. Lou L says, congrats. I appreciate that, sir. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoy the content. What was the Christmas video? Christmas video you did a while back. Yeah. The gift video. Well, thank you for that. What he's talking about is I did a video of like gift ideas for comic collectors. And it was an interesting video. It did okay. The cool thing about that, as far as like the business side of it, is I linked to all the things I talked about, and they were all affiliate links. So, if somebody went through and checked out the items, I could get some, affiliate commission if somebody bought something from that, which, that's kind of stuff that helps support the channel. That's how, I do things like buy new cameras or lenses or lights, or, pay rent for storage and stuff like that, and hotel rooms for cons and whatnot. It's all those things because when I'm not at shows, like AdSense, like the ad revenue is really the only money CoMo comes in, because I don't like to sell a lot in between shows, which is going to completely negate my next topic I'm going to talk about. That's going to completely blow this out of the water. But I've seen a lot of people over the years that you have a show, you've got good stuff, you have another show coming up, but in between the two shows, all the good stuff on your wall that didn't sell at the first show, you sell online. So then you get to the next show and, you've already come out of pocket to have this space and everything, but you sold all your good stuff. So then you're sitting at the show and you don't have anything to sell. So then you're just kind of, shooting yourself in the foot. So I don't like to sell a lot of things in between shows, but that's all right. All right. Tartan Phantom says, I've only ever had 2 West Coast Avengers 45s. I owned one for about an hour, literally from, I split that collection with MSG Comics, a buddy of mine I was talking about earlier. So I owned it from the hour when we bought the collection from the seller to when we went to his house and started divvying up the collection. He got the first one. And then this big collection I just bought, I think, had one. So I think I'm in it about 41 cents. So I think I'll be okay on that. Serge has a question about a Golden Age book. If by refurbished, I'm assuming you're saying restored or conserved. Obviously it takes a hit to the value if a book is conserved or restored. But I think that's something the hobby's just going to have to get used to. They're going to have to come around on in the next 15, 20 years. These things weren't made out of the best paper, and honest to God's truth, some of them aren't in the best shape. And if you want to have something that's not just a bag of dust, at some point, conservation or restoration is just the right thing to do for the book, or it's going to cease to exist. So monetarily, Universal is always going to be the way to go. But like I said, at a point, that's just going to have to become part of the conversation. You look at things like the rare book market, collectible book market. Obviously, the less amount of work that's been done to a book, the better. But still, it's better to have a book professionally taken care of, so that it can continue to exist, as opposed to just letting it sit there and deteriorate into nothing. So that's my thoughts on that. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is I recently picked up a consignment collection. And if you follow me on Instagram, you might have seen these recently. These were some books I was going to put up last week, but I didn't get to. But long story short, with this consignment is I've been listing a few of them on my website for sale since I picked them up, just kind of, been trying to do a few books a week. I think I missed last week. These were supposed to go up last week, but I didn't make it that far. So a little preview here of some of the books that will be available on the website soon. First up, got this nice ASM 34 early Craven appearance, Steve Ditko art. Great book. The thing about a lot of these books, they've got really great page quality. Now, they're not without their issues. They were stored in metal foot lockers. So, and they had to have been in these foot lockers for 40 or 50 years. And what happened is Missouri has really humid air. So whatever air had leached in there or been in there, that moisture that got trapped in there, some of the staples have issues. Now, if you're interested in the books, when I list them, I take pretty good grader's notes. I post my grader's notes up there just to let you know what my estimate of the grade is, and then, the defects I observe. So if you're curious about them at all, that information will be up there. Next book, this one's kind of, and the preceding issue have kind of taken off a little bit lately. I don't know why the Lizard's getting all the love, but 44 and 45 have definitely heated up. But this is a great John Romita Lizard cover and appearance. Only the third appearance of the Lizard after ASM 6 and 44. So that one also be up on the website at some point soon. Here's a fun one. Little Batman 251 classic Neil Adams cover. As you can probably see, it's got some water damage. You can also see the staples on this one. Got some issues there, but for the dollar, and honestly, a press will help how this thing presents just to get that waviness out of it. Like I said, they're consignment, and I don't have the time to go through and put in all that effort. So it's going to be a book that's going to be very affordable and will be improvable. So you'll be able to get yourself a pretty nice presenting copy of that book for a good price. And then, if you press or know somebody who presses, get that thing sharpened up a little bit and be sitting pretty. Next book, this is Detective 266. It's just a cool Batmobile cover from, I think this is late 50s. Just a neat 10-cent detective. Nothing too crazy. And again, this is just a sampling. Still got several more books to get around for this consignment, but they will all be ready for Planet if you're going to be in Kansas City. Last book's this X-Men 66. It's kind of in a similar boat as the Batman 251. It's got some wrinkling. Just needs a little TLC and a press, and it'll present a lot better. But that's the new stuff that's going to be going up. If you're not familiar, I do have a website. Don't sell a lot of books on it, but these consignment books have been, as I get them ready, have been added up in there. So got a really nice Tales to Astonish 50, just kind of a random. It's actually the first human top, so he goes on to become Whirlwind. So if that's a character you're interested in, that's a really sharp copy. Of course, got the Green Lantern 76, that Neil Adams, Denny O'Neil classic, the Batman 277 or 227 rather, which is the Detective 31 cover swipe or cover homage, however you want to look at that. Also have a nice ASM 46. Pretty sharp. I think that's in like VF range, if I remember right. All-Star 58, Power Girl. You got to think, with all the characters that James Gunn is using, sooner or later, we're surely going to see Power Girl. So that some reasonable spec there, I'd say. X-Men 58, similar to the 60, has some water damage, but it's cool stuff. This really, really white pages, JIM Annual 1 did sell. But, a few more. Here's the House of Secrets I mentioned. We sold that one. But we've got first Ra's al Ghul, first Silver Age Penguin. The Green Lantern 87 looks pretty nice, but the staples are gone. So that's unfortunate. X-Men 50 sold. We've got 2 copies of All-Star Western 10. So if you're a Jonah Hex fan, maybe check that out. A really nice mid-grade ASM 31. So if you're a Harry Osborn or Gwen Stacy fan, and then also the ASM 122 from this consignment collection there. So that's some of the things we got available on the website. Those 5 I showed earlier will be going up hopefully sometime this week. We'll just have to see how things go. But we'll be getting that happening, and then start working on some of the other books we've still got. I know, like I said, we've got another copy of the All-Star Western 10. I've got like the first Black Orchid. I've got a Legion of Monsters magazine 1. Maybe another Spidey or 2. There's still some interesting things in there. So if you are so inclined, keep an eye on the CoMo comic book store for some of those as they come up. And I'll be posting on Instagram, generally previews, and then letting people know when they go up. All right. I don't have them priced yet. So that's part of it. Once they go up, the price will be out and all that. So that's that. But I think that's all I've got for you tonight. It's just a well, let's see. We got a hot comment coming in here. Ask if there's any comment I regret not buying. And congrats on 3 years and 10K. Thank you, Mateo. I did not buy and it seems like this book is my white whale at the moment. I passed on a first print TMNT #1 CGC 80 for $6,000 in I think it was August 2019. At the time, that price was a little strong, and the person who had it is notorious for not wanting to trade. And at the time, I was book rich and cash poor, so the conversation didn't really go anywhere. But yeah, that would be the regret of, I could have easily sold a Hulk 181 and had all the cash I needed to get that book. For perspective, I think one sold was a couple weeks ago for $18K, so it's up about 3x over that amount of time. So that was a bummer, but you live and learn. And the simple thing, you can't have it all, or maybe you can't have it all. You just can't have it all at once. So you got to prioritize, and when that's what happens, you find yourself in situations like that. So it is what it is, as they say. But with that in mind, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the stream. I want to thank everybody for hanging out. It's been a great 3 years. Hopefully 3 more years from now, we'll be back here talking about 6 years of the CoMo Comic Books channel. And I don't know, I'm kind of scared to see, think about subscriber count at that point, because it does seem like the bigger you get, kind of the quicker it can be for things to snowball. So we'll just have to see where that goes. But thank you all for your support. I greatly appreciate you hanging out with me tonight, and for all your comments and likes and shares and tags on Instagram, and just coming by and saying hi at shows and stuff like that. It's been great to get to know the community via the YouTube channel over the last couple of years, and I appreciate all of you. And as I always say, collect responsibly, and I'll see you in the next one.